Well, hello. Welcome everyone to the Journey to CFP, the podcast where we get to explore the real stories, challenges, and victories behind becoming a certified financial planner. And my guest today is Jeff. And Jeff is hot off the press of passing the exam, and he is a wealth advisor in the Boston area. Yay, Boston. And what's unique about Jeff is he has been in the industry for over 20 years, and you know, hasn't really had to study for an exam at all in over, I'd say, I think a decade and a half.
Sorry
And
about that.
yeah, and trying to have to get your brain back in that zone after a decade and a half, also having a 3-year-old and a wife that works full time has a lot of challenges in and of itself. And so I cannot wait to hear your stories and your insights so that you can share them with everybody else. So let's dive in. Welcome, Jeff.
Perfect. Yeah, thanks for having me on. And I'm really excited to talk about my journey and the 2-year odyssey that it was.
Yes, that's
Um,
exactly the 2-year odyssey, the journey, the it looks different for everybody. It's painful in ways along the journey for everyone, and so I can't wait to dive in.
yeah. So basically, I had thought about taking it for years and never really like actually pulled the trigger. And then there was kind of a push. There's been a push in the industry for people to get the CFP. And I was like, all right, yeah, I think it's time now. My daughter is not she's not a baby anymore. So I think it's a good time. So I, I did some Googling and didn't really like hone in on what I should be doing in the beginning. And I came up with Dalton just because it had a lot of great reviews. And so I
Mhm.
took the class through Dalton, the actual class, which, I kind of wasn't fully paying attention. That was on me. Like I was just kind of going through the motions. And then once I finished the class, I spoke with some colleagues after the class, and they had all said to check out Danko for the review. So I switched course and went to Danko for the review. I finished the class and the capstone, I think in like November or December, and then at the end of December, and then I jumped right in and wanted to take the test in March. So I started with the Danko review the end of December, and started studying the Danko material. I attended the live review, and a lot of things were still over my head. I was just like, I feel like I don't, I'm not in a good place, and they're going too fast because
Yep.
I didn't pre-study and have enough time, and I wasn't giving it 100%. So after the live review class, I really dived in and spent way too many hours, like every waking second I had. I actually even didn't work that hard at work and just studied a lot of times. And as I'm doing that, I'm like, I still don't feel 100% going into the test. So I went in March and tested, and it was I was all over the place. First half, I ran out of time. Second half, I felt better about the second half, but still, when I clicked the button, I was not confident that I passed. And then I got the fail. And it was because of the amount of time I spent, I was very disappointed because I had never not passed a test before, like this, the 65, all the other seven. I never not passed those before
Yeah.
in the first try. And so I had to really think about what I was going to do next. And I had spoken to some people, and they were like, "It's still fresh in your head. Jump right back in and take it in June." And I was like, "All right, yeah, I'm going to take it in June." And I even talked to another tutor who was like, "I'll start tutoring you, and you'll be ready for June because it's all fresh in your head." And I started with that tutor, and it just was like the same, going over the same material that I already knew. And I was like, I need to find someone else. So I went on the CFP board and saw someone comment about Paul and breakthrough. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna call him. And I called him, and instantly asked me a few questions, and like how, and instantly I'm like, I need this guy to guide me through the process. And he also told me, he goes, yeah, you're not testing in June. He said, do you want to take it 3 times, or do you want to take it a second time and pass? You're waiting till
Mm-hmm.
November. And then I was like, oh, sorry about that. And I was like, all right, perfect. So at that point, I started tutoring with him, and I was doing a couple of days a week. Actually, I was doing 2 to 3 hours a week, Sunday mornings, very early. Uh,
Yes.
You know what that's
Oh,
like.
yes.
Like in the middle of the summer when you're out doing things on the night before, you're just like, oh man, I gotta get up and do this. But it all paid off. And then I got the test bank too, which was incredible.
Huge, huge.
Yeah,
That, I mean, that was, I think Paul was just finishing up those questions when I was working with him. I'm like, you need to get me the questions. You need to get me the questions because
yeah,
that was a game changer. Like, I think it was Dalton who you can buy the Q Bank from. And I did like two sets of 1,000. And those, but when Paul said you're going to do 100 questions a day, I was like, in the last month, I'm like, you're out of your mind. Absolutely not.
yeah,
It was the best thing I possibly could have done because then you
yeah,
don't run out of time. The first two, luckily you reached out to Paul after the first attempt before trying to sit 3 months, 4 months later.
yeah,
I had the same situation of yourself where it was, I felt like I was studying a ton. I felt like I was making the sacrifices. So why would I not just take it immediately again? If I work harder, if I, whatever, then I'll pass. And I did. And it was so crushing because I wasn't ready. I wanted to just get it over and done with, which I get, but
yeah,
you don't want to have to take it multiple times if you can prevent that. Learn from the first one if you don't pass, and then really strategize of how you want to go about it. And I think, you said you started with him in what, November
So
last year? So about a year.
no, with Paul, no, I wasn't with him even that long. I think I reached out to him in March, actually,
Okay.
end of
Okay.
March, beginning of April. Um, and then I was going to take it in June. So I was with him from March till November.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yeah,
giving yourself that time allows you to really learn the material deep. And as you said, you've been in the industry for years, so it's not like you don't know the industry. It's just what this test is asking, and the questions and the way they ask it is totally different. And I think,
yeah,
I wasn't in the industry for a while, but I've heard, from a lot of people I've been speaking to, it's like if you've been in the industry for years, you think, well, obviously I should be able to do this. Like, why not? But it's a different way of going about it.
yeah. Yeah, he really helps you to understand the questions and how they ask the questions, and that is was one of the most valuable things
And
that I got out of it.
I think when you said he asked me a few questions when I first called him, I think we all know like how that goes. And you think you know all this stuff and you're trying like, well, of course I should have
Yeah,
passed. And then he asks you a question and I don't know if it's because it's on the spot and we're nervous when we call it, Mike, or at least I was like, what am I doing? I completely blanked. I think he asked me our first meeting together, what are the steps of financial planning? And I must have stared blankly at him for, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, I know it. No, I know them.
yeah,
They're there. I just don't know how to say it.
yeah,
And by the end, even if I was wrong with something, I was spitting like, I know this, I know that. Again, I would fight to my grave, even if I was wrong,
yeah,
because it's the confidence that you learn in the process
yeah.
that makes it so that you're not like shook on the day of the exam.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, Paul is phenomenal, but the rest of the team is great too. And you get to get different perspectives, which
Yep.
is great for teaching perspectives.
Yep.
So it's all invaluable. I can't speak highly enough about it. About the learning process. And not only that, but about you learn other stuff, other industry stuff as you go along too that you didn't really know.
Yep.
Just because you get so caught up in your day to day, and then you kind of you learn some technical stuff along the way that would help you out in the future, which is great too. So
And I think that's the other bit. Like you're diving so deep into it that you're really like it's going into your being so that it stays with you versus, you know, memorizing as much as you possibly can, taking the exam and it all just
yeah,
disappearing. You know,
yeah,
some of it disappears after the
yeah,
exam, no matter what. But it's like you're connecting all the dots and you're, as I say, like you're going 5 layers deep so that you see how it's all related.
yeah. I couldn't agree more with that. Yep.
Now, what did you do? What did you change in your study approach? Because I know you had a little Dalton, you had a little Danko. I don't think any program is better than the other. I think, for every person it's different. But what did
Yeah.
you do with your studying, like routine or habit, or like what did you do different once you
So
started working?
Yeah,
Paul?
so the major difference I feel like which Paul teaches and everything I tweaked in my studying is from what Paul teaches, and I like that he repeats the important things, because you forget it after the first call, and then the second call he'll say it again, and then it starts to click after he says it again, and a lot of the phrases he says all the
Like three
time.
months later, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. And I think what one of the things he said that was very important was if you feel really comfortable on a subject, don't even look at it and don't keep taking quiz questions just to make yourself feel better because
But it
you know
feels
you're
so
going to
good
pass
when you
them.
get a good,
Yeah.
when you know you're sucking in
Yeah.
another area, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
well, at least I'm good here.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, you're making yourself feel better, but you're not really, you need to feel uncomfortable and work on those areas that you feel uncomfortable. And investments was really tough for me. So I really spent a lot of time on investments with him and then on my own. And I felt very strong on investments once I took it this time around. The last time around, I was in, like as far on the right as you can be on investments.
Yeah.
And he was like, he literally went through it with me, and that's what I really spent a lot of time on this time around, and
Yeah.
income tax too. Those
Yes.
are my two weakest areas.
Yep.
And yeah, and the GP too. So it
Yep.
was, yeah, those were my three weakest. So those are the ones I spent the most time on this time around. And I still would, like he said, still go back and refresh yourself on
Exactly.
those other areas. And I was spending too much time on the areas I knew in my first go around because it felt comfortable. And I also was spending too much time watching videos and not retaining because it was like I put in the hours, I'll pass this test. And he was like, no, it's not about that, it's about comprehending. And when you're burnt out, step away. And take that day off was big because it was like you just put everything out of your mind rather than take an hour off here and there. Um,
Yes.
that was helpful as well for the study strategy this time around.
In all transparency, and I know you have a little one, so I feel like you might relate on this one. So my boys now are 10, 8, and 6. So at the time they were 9, whatever. I can't do math clearly. But I took it 3 times, so they were at different stages. However, I always felt like I needed to be studying. So when I wasn't
Same.
studying, I was thinking about studying. So I was never present with, like, I felt like with my husband or my kids because I should have always been doing something else.
Yeah.
I did not listen to Paul immediately. Don't get mad, Paul. Um, when I first started, because he's like, you need to take a day off. And I'm thinking, that sound, I don't know. So I would tutor with him Sunday mornings, like yourself, the crack of dawn. And he's like, so what's your day off this week? I'm like, well, today. He goes, but we're in our, I'm like, oh, the tutoring part doesn't count. Like, I'm not on my own studying. And he just let me keep doing it. And I'd say halfway through, I was finally like, I am literally taking the whole day off.
Yeah.
And what I would do is it would be from like 1 or 2 o'clock on Saturday until Monday morning. So there was no guilt for 36
Yeah.
hours because I was not allowed. That was how I coded it. I'm not allowed to study, which
Yeah.
I was present with my family. I felt like I actually had a life a little bit, and it
Yeah.
wasn't, you have to be miserable to fail. And then by the time Monday morning rolled around, it was like, I'm a little excited to study. Like I want to get back into it, but it like recharges your battery versus running on red 24/7.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the major thing is having that time and also knowing during that time that you're not going to forget everything because you took a day off. And that's what he teaches you. And it's kind of like even the couple days before the test, not
Yes.
studying.
I want
And
to ask you, what was your experience 2 days out from the exam the first time versus the second time?
I was studying up until till I was driving to class, driving to the test, listening to a podcast before I took the test, my first time. My second time, I took like 3 or 4 days off and went out to dinner the night before, got a hotel room across from the test center and just chilled. And it was like I was so much more relaxed walking in rather than all discombobulated walking in the first time.
Like still
So,
panicking a little bit, like,
yeah.
wait, what's that thing? What was that
Yep.
retirement plan versus and when I put it away, so I took 2 full days off before and I glanced at something, I think 3 days out, and then I was like, I'll just do a quick review of all my wrong answers. And I'm looking, I'm like, there's so much information here. I am not freaking myself out. It's up here. Like
Yeah.
if it's not here now, what I do right now is not going to make any difference. And
Yeah,
so going in with just a calmness and a not a zen feeling. But I kept blinders on. Like I had a music game, like an hour music thing I listened to on the way there, pump up music. First time I tried to do calming, and I was like, screw that. This is like game time. I'm excited. And did not talk to a soul when I went into the test center versus the first time I was trying to like be friendly.
same.
I don't know if Paul told you this or if it's more for the ladies, but like pick your outfit out the day before, which sounds silly, but I didn't want to use 1 ounce of my brain cells until I hit start
Yeah.
on that exam.
Yeah, I didn't talk to anyone. That was key to go in and not talk to anyone. That was a huge tip the day of because before,
Mhm.
same as you, I was talking to everyone. Someone was there for their second time, talking to them and getting their perspective. And then it was just like, why was I talking to these people during that time period? And then at lunch, the little break they give you at this time, I didn't go back and like start to try and study. And I did that the first time. I literally had my book out at lunch and was trying to study. And this time I just had a lunch, sat in my car.
Yep.
I think I called my wife to say it's going good. You
No,
know?
I turned everything off, refused to, like the phone, I refused to turn on. I'm like, if there's an emergency,
Yeah,
do not reach out to me. Like I am not here today.
yeah,
And going out to the car, huge thing. I mean, that was, and I don't want to say excited to get back in there, but it's like, I got this. I got this. I didn't even bring my study materials, which felt very scary when I left
yeah,
my house. And I was like, well, just in case. And I'm like, no, none of
yeah,
that matters. I don't have the
yeah,
ability to worry right now because none of the material is in my car. So it doesn't.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Would you say, did your wife notice anything um, of you studying the first time versus the second time? I haven't asked anybody that, but now I'm curious in terms of,
Yeah, because it was more balanced this time. Where last time I literally was locking myself in my home office all day, all night. I would eat dinner for like 5 minutes, and then maybe I would take the Sunday afternoon off to watch, to hang out with the family. And this time she's like, you balanced it a lot better. You were gone a lot
yep,
because you have to put the time in,
yep.
but you would balance it, and that having that day off was huge to spend with the family and do whatever we wanted to do was huge. And she's like, this time around, it was a lot more balanced than it was the first time around, where you were cramming for 3 months, and you were literally every waking hour was up there. So,
And I think, it gives certainty if you have a significant other, if you have kids, that they have you for 24 hours. Like, so if you want to do something fun, that is the time we're doing it. Like, if we just want to sit and watch a movie, that's fine. But they know that that is their time, and there's not like a resentment necessarily built in.
yeah,
Like, you're never around, and when you are around, you're not actually present. That whole
yeah,
situation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's tough to be fully present when you're in the depths of it, but you're more present
Yeah,
when you're going through it and you have a plan, with Paul that you put together with Paul. And it's great too because if you have a question, you can always reach out and it's
yeah,
he gets back with a good answer. And if you ever have like a question that you do on your own and you want to talk about it in the tutoring sessions,
yeah,
it takes it to the next level. You don't even you go over the question, but then because he noticed that you don't fully grasp that question, you can go through the concept again. And we did that.
exactly.
I did investments with him in the beginning. That was, I think, the first section we went over. And
Yeah,
then at the very end, towards the end, I was like, I'm still not getting X, Y, and
yep,
Z concepts. So we literally like went back and did it from square one. So you can kind of tailor it to what you need, as well as what he has planned. And
yep.
that was the game changer with him is he has a plan where the other tutors that I had met with, all very, very nice and all very, very knowledgeable. But
But bring
it's
me your
like, all right,
questions.
ask
Yep.
me questions.
Yeah.
What do you want to go over? And
But
it's
you
like
don't
with
know what you don't
him,
know until you don't know what you don't know. And it's not the concept. It's never what you actually think it is. And
yeah, yeah,
that's the piece.
yeah. So it was a game changer.
When did it start to click for you?
Um, so I would say I don't know if there was an exact time that it started to click. It would be certain sections I would start to understand towards the end of like, well,
Yep.
because I did the review with him and then I did questions with him.
Yep.
So
That's
I
what I did.
did
Yep.
because I spent a lot of hours
Yep.
because I felt like I needed it because
Me too.
I was in the red. So
Yep.
we would go through the concepts and then we would go through the
Yep.
questions in the sections I got in the red because I got four in the red. I think it's eight
Okay.
sections, right? I've already
Yep.
blocked it out. So I got four in the red, four in the green
Okay.
my first time. So
Yep.
we really dived into the four in the red and then we kind of just high level touched the four in the green.
Yep.
And so we would go through, we would do the reviews and then we would do the questions. And I think it started to click once I started going through the questions for each section, which is, I
Yes.
think it
You
happens.
think you know, and then you go through the question, you're like, oh, do
Yeah,
I really know it? Right.
yeah, yeah. And it's so and one thing I would recommend is doing the questions on your own and then doing them
Oh,
with
yes. Oh,
Paul.
100%. You have to. Yep.
Yeah, because towards the end, when I was working with Sam a little bit,
Yep.
we would just go over the questions and I wouldn't do them ahead of
No.
time. And I felt like it was better to do the questions first,
Yeah.
to go through them on your own first.
I think what I did is I actually printed, I don't know if you did this. Uh-oh, did you freeze or did I freeze?
Um,
Oh,
I'm
there you
not
are. You're back.
frozen.
Okay. So I would print out all the questions. I do one per page, double-sided. And when I would go through and do them on my own, I would do it in, pencil or one color and write my rationale for every single thing. Because he asks you, well, why is this one right? Why is this one wrong? And I didn't want to forget that. And
Yeah,
so then when we would go over them, I'd have a different color
yep,
to kind of see like,
yep,
okay, what's the piece that I keep missing? And then I don't know if you did a wrong answer book, but I did it the first two times, but never actually looked at it because I don't know. I'll look at it at
yeah.
the end.
You
Not a
run
good.
out of time.
And so every day I would spend 10 minutes reviewing the wrong answer book. And it wasn't taking the whole question, the whole answer. It was like, what is the concept I'm not
Yeah,
getting? And so every day it was like 10 minutes. So if I was working on investments with Paul, I was still reviewing general principles and insurance. And so it's like you're sprinkling everything in versus staying in investments for a month, staying in estate for a month, because
yeah,
that's not, you don't want to put in all the effort and the work and the time and then, not
yeah.
be looking at it throughout. So that's a
Yeah,
huge piece.
and I think along the lines of that too was it was great to have Paul's questions and Danko's questions.
Hmm.
To kind of so like if I was doing the questions with Paul on investments,
Yep.
I would be doing the Danko questions for me on like income tax. I'd be
Hmm.
doing Danko questions on the side. And
Correct.
that helped me because I had two things going on. I had what was going on with Paul, which was like a really deep dive, and then I was
Yep.
still just glazing over income
Staying
tax,
fresh.
staying fresh with income tax using the Danko questions, which I thought
Yes.
it was good to have the two perspectives
Yes.
of how
Exactly.
the questions were written.
Because
Because
I feel like if you're just using one program, for some people it works, but there's only so many questions. And so then you start going back and you get the answers right because you've done the questions multiple times.
yeah,
And
you memorize them. Yeah.
that's not, and you don't even
Yeah.
realize it sometimes. It's just like, oh yeah, this is it. But if somebody had to say, well, why are the other ones wrong? People probably couldn't do it. So it's
Yeah.
like really diving into it on that. Oh, that's super helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is great insight. What would you say, if you could take one, like give one, two, three pieces of advice to somebody who they've taken the exam and they're feeling discouraged or lonely or isolated right now, like what would you say to them?
I would say you're definitely not alone and don't let social media get to you with people on LinkedIn posting I passed and people on the Reddit saying I passed and it was so easy and I don't let that get to you because it's not easy and I've been in the business for 20 years and I've seen everything pretty much and
Yeah.
I didn't pass my first time around. And it happens to everyone. Like it's not you could be, you could be the smartest person in the world and you could not pass this exam because of the way they make the questions up and the way they ask the questions and the comprehend reading and comprehension,
Yep.
as Paul says.
Yep.
It's a reading and comprehension test, and
Yep.
it really is. So if you don't read it the right way, then you're not going to pass the test, even if you
Yep.
know all the stuff down pat. And that's where getting Paul as a tutor really helps that hone that part of it. That's my number one. So don't you're not alone. You're definitely not alone. So
And I think being part of a group, Paul has made it very nice where, he has a team that, do the trainings and everything. But like I try to reach out to everybody and try to give you need a team. It takes a village to get through this, but you need the right
yeah,
people, not a
yeah,
spouse who's not, taking the exam, not a boss who did it 20 years or 30 years ago. Like you
Yeah.
need that core group so that you can keep the blinders on.
Yeah.
After the second time, did not look on any Facebook or
Same.
LinkedIn regarding the exam. I did no group stuff. I was like,
Nope.
I don't give a rat's ass what anybody else is doing. Like I
Nope.
cannot get out of my zone.
The
And
f- yeah, same. The first time around, I was talking to people that I didn't even know that were in the Danco
right.
program with me, like review class, like exchange numbers with people, and
Mm-hmm.
we would do like a half hour here and there. None of that this time around. It was all about
Unsubscribe.
you basically with the team that you have that helps you out,
Right.
not sitting there talking to someone on a Saturday in a group, which actually happened about what a simple IRA is. It's like I'm not furthering my studying by doing that. And you have to be
Correct.
selfish. Like I'm not, and I'm the type of person that's team first always.
Yes.
But you kind of have to be selfish at this moment if you want to pass. And
Yes.
and that's what Paul teaches you. Because yeah, before you spend a lot of time on Reddit or you spend it on one of the other media sites, and it's time wasted. It's
Yep.
it's it's productivity that is down the tubes. So
And mentally and
yeah,
emotionally. It
yeah,
just
yeah.
destroys you.
That's the biggest part. Yeah, you're
Yep.
right. Yeah.
Well, I thank you so much, Jeff, for sharing your experience with us. I mean, again, it's a journey for all of us. It looks a little bit different, but at the bottom of
Yeah.
it, we're all just trying to get through it. And so anybody watching this, if you're feeling discouraged, if you're feeling stressed or, it didn't go the first way or the first time or the second time the way you wanted, know that you will get there. I promise you, stay connected. You are not alone and you can do this.
Yes, definitely. Thanks so much, Jessica, for this time
All
today.
right. Have a great day.
You too. Take care. Thanks.